From Hollywood, it's the Tom Leykis Show.
Oh, God.
And now, here he is, Tom Leykis.
Thank you for tuning in to the Tom Leykis Show. This is where America gets together to talk about the issues you really care about. It's a different kind of a radio talk program. We're the radio talk show that is not hosted by a right-wing wacko or a convicted felon. No. I am your host. Write down our toll-free telephone number. You're going to need it. It's 1-800-5800-TOM. 1-800-5800-866. You know, I actually read this story in a physical copy of USA Today. I must say, here's a newspaper I never read unless I'm on an airplane or in a hotel room. You know, they're giving copies away. Actually, they build the cost of the paper into your airline trip or your hotel room. But USA Today is a newspaper I do not subscribe to. I do not get at my front door. And if I ever do see USA Today, it's the website I see. I don't see the paper. But I had to get some work done on my car today, and I had some time to... You know what that's like when you have to get some work done on your car. I had my car detailed today. And so I had to spend 90 minutes killing time, and all there was that would take my change for a newspaper was a USA Today box. So once again, when I couldn't buy the papers I wanted to read, I punted, and I bought a copy of USA Today. There's actually people who get that at home, by the way. I'm just trying to imagine what kind of person gets USA Today at home. You know, I like it so much when I'm staying at the Marriott. I wanted to get it at home. Amazing. But I read this story in USA Today, and now here it is sitting up on my screen. And I must say, there's always new reasons not to get married, okay? There's always new reasons. And this one is interesting because so many of you call me. And you know me, I am not married. I live alone. And far as I'm concerned, I could very well do this the rest of my life. I'm very, 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 very happy. And yet all you morons who are married and therefore misery loves company, you call in here and tell me how I'm going to be alone when I get older. You tell me I'm going to need somebody to take care of me when I get older. You're telling me if I don't get married, I'm going to be left alone with nobody to love me and care for me. Now, I've been telling you guys, and I guess I needed a really vivid illustration like the one I'm about to give you. I've been telling you guys, there is no guarantee that you are ever going to be taken care of in your old age. I don't care if you're married. I don't care how much you think your girlfriend, your wife, your husband loves you. It doesn't matter. There's no guarantee they're going to take care of you into your old age. In fact, there's no guarantee they'll even be faithful to you in their old age. And this particular story, this particular illustration of what I've been telling you is happening to no less than a former Supreme Court justice. Oh, yes, this Supreme Court justice thought that she had that kind of love that was going to last forever. And they'd walk hand in hand into the sunset. Years after they were done with their time on the bench. These were husband and wife judges. And they thought that one day, there they'd be, you know, once they get old, they would take care of each other and life is going to be wonderful. Well, this illustrates what I've been telling you. There's no point getting married just to have somebody to take care of you because this could happen to you. Here's the story. Dateline Washington from USA Today. America's most generic newspaper. Isn't that what they're called? Yes. Retired Justice Sandra Day O'Connor's husband, who suffers from Alzheimer's, you're not going to believe what this is. All right, he's suffering from Alzheimer's. But apparently he's found a new romance. And it says here his happiness is a relief to his wife, according to an Arizona TV report. Hopefully it wasn't coming from a helicopter. The report, which quoted the couple's oldest son, Scott O'Connor, focused on, and by the way, this is what you have to look forward to when you get older. And somebody's either going to take care of you or you're going to take care of them. The report focused on Alzheimer's patients who, by the way, you don't have to have Alzheimer's to do this. Alzheimer's patients who forget their spouses and fall in love with someone else. Experts say the scenario is somewhat common. Have you ever heard of that? All right, so you're 77 years old, and you've been married forever, and you've been waiting for your wife to retire from the Supreme Court so the two of you can walk hand in hand into the sunset. And by the time she finally retires, you've forgotten who she is, so you fall in love with somebody else. There you go. By the way, that's the explanation I'm using next time I get caught. I don't remember you. Who are you? You're not my wife. This is my fiance over here. Story continues. It says here, offering a glimpse into the private life of a woman who has remained on the public stage since her Supreme Court retirement in 2006 to care for her husband. She like gives up this really fulfilling position that, you know, there's no taking a sabbatical and then coming back, okay? You're on the Supreme Court till you retire, then they put someone else in there, okay? So she quits to take care of her husband, 77-year-old John O'Connor. Says here, he and the woman, referred to only as Kay, live at a Phoenix facility for people with Alzheimer's. You know, having sex with somebody at that place, it's always like having sex with them for the first time. That is one fresh relationship. Yes, it says here that Scott O'Connor, he's the son, 50 years old, told Channel 12 in Phoenix in a story that aired yesterday. Actually, I'm sorry, Thursday. Mom was thrilled that Dad was relaxed and happy and comfortable living here and wasn't complaining. Honey, I'm so happy you found true love. Oh, my. Says here, though Sandra Day O'Connor, 77, did not appear in the television report, it gave a rare look at the life of the nation's first female justice. Scott compared his father to a teenager in love and said, here's what he said, for Mom to visit when he's happy, visiting with his girlfriend, sitting on the porch swing, holding hands, was a relief after a painful period. It was a painful period. You know, he was on Match.com. He was on eHarmony. He wasn't able to find anybody. So finally he went to Amnesia.com and he found true love. Says here the O'Connors, who have 3 children, met at Stanford Law School and married in 1952. John O'Connor left a partnership in a Phoenix law firm to come to Washington with his wife in 1981. He worked for some D.C. law firms, but was limited in his ability to take on matters that could come before the justices. As her husband's disease became more difficult to handle, O'Connor retired. And to thank her, he goes out and takes up with another woman at the hospice. So that's great. Sandra Day O'Connor gets to go to the hospice facility to check on her husband and see him all happy there in the swing holding hands with somebody else. Now you're 77 years old and you're a former Supreme Court justice and you've been waiting all these years to retire with your husband, and there he is sitting on the swing holding hands with somebody else. So what do you do with your life at that point? You could have still been on the Supreme Court, you know, and you could have just sent him off to be happy with his girlfriend, but no. First you retire from the Supreme Court, then you find out that he's taken up with another woman at the hospice because he's got Alzheimer's disease. Okay, I'm telling you. Next time a chick catches me, I'm telling them that I've got John O'Connor disease. That's right. It says here, Peter Reed, Senior Director of Programs at the Alzheimer's Association in Chicago, said the frequency of Alzheimer's patients forming new romantic relations is hard to estimate. But he said the underlying causes of this are fairly common. Though patients lose their cognitive abilities and experience mood changes, one of the things that doesn't go away is the need for relationships. And it says here, Justice O'Connor is certainly to be commended for raising awareness and helping to reduce stigmas. So now is she going to go online looking for love? What happens here? You're 77 and your husband is at the Alzheimer's home dating another Alzheimer's patient. So all of you wise asses, all you Weisenheimers who call in here, and you know who you all are, okay? All you wise asses who call in here and try to tell me that I am going to be miserable when I'm older because I don't have anybody to take care of me. Well, look what's happened to Sandra Day O'Connor. I mean, can you imagine that? Former Supreme Court Justice, by the way, if you're a lawyer, that's like the best job in the world, right? Most fulfilling, important. Talk about leaving a legacy after you're gone. Your work will constantly be analyzed and it will constantly be relevant for centuries to come. A great gig. She quit that to take care of her husband, and her husband thanks her by taking up with some hussy over there at the Alzheimer's home. That could happen to you. So again, another reminder, don't you agree? Another reminder that getting married guarantees you nothing. Guarantees you nothing. Except if you're a guy, it guarantees somebody's going to take more than half of all your stuff. That's the only guarantee in marriage. No guarantee people are going to stay with you. And if they do stay with you, there's no guarantee they're going to talk to you when you get older or take care of you when you're sick. Or, more importantly, if they're sick, there's no guarantee they're going to stay with you. Maybe they fall in love with somebody else. Now, I think my odds are as good as any that I'm going to be at least as happy as Sandra Day O'Connor when I retire. You know what I'm talking about? Do you think that what I'm saying is unreasonable? I have to know.
Tom Leykis. 1-800-5800-TOM. Tom Leykis.
As I have said on this program many times, if Helen Keller had a granddaughter who's a 9 or a 10, that's a perfect match. And by the way, honey, if you're out there,
It's the Tom Leykis Show.
It's the Tom Leykis 1-800-5800-TOM. Look at that, some more radio roadkill. That guy John Ziegler's not going to be doing the nice KFI anymore. Now we've seen him come. We've seen him go. Another one goes. I'll tell you what, I feel like the Grim Reaper here. I just sit here and watch the bodies of my enemies float by. It's fantastic, sitting down by the river. Eventually they all float by. We'll see if Ziegler floats into the guy who does voices. No, remember that guy who used to do voices, used to talk to himself? At a talk show? No, not Brian Whitlis, the other guy. The guy who doesn't have a job. Who tried to start a feud with me. You know the one. They'll meet floating down the river somewhere. Oh, yes. Along with the former management of this company. They're all out there. They just need a super fund to clean that river up when it's all over. 1-800-5800-TOM is our telephone number. All right, we told you the story. The former Supreme Court Justice, Sandra Day O'Connor, 77 years old. Finally retired from the Supreme Court in 2006 to care for her husband who was developing Alzheimer's disease. So there she is caring for him, and I guess he's in a hospice facility. And I guess one of the symptoms of Alzheimer's sometimes can be that here you are married 50 years or whatever, and suddenly you don't recognize your wife anymore, so you fall in love with somebody else. Which, by the way, it may be true for him, but that is the greatest excuse of all time, boys. If you ever get caught, just tell them that it's very common among Alzheimer's patients and you're just developing a little early. 1-800-5800-TOM. That's our telephone number. I just love this story. I mean, I'm sorry for people this is happening to, but I love the story. I mean, it's truly amazing. Imagine you spend your whole life planning on the big retirement. We're going to travel. We're going to see the world. We're going to visit our grandchildren. We're going to... And there he is sitting on the swing holding the hand of another woman. Wow. Jasmine on the Tom Leykis show. Hello.
How are you doing?
Great.
Good. I'm a little nervous because I've never been on the radio before, but I just wanted to give you my 2 cents. Dealing with people with Alzheimer's and dementia is a huge load on the family, and I think it might actually be a relief for Justice O'Connor that her husband is distracted by somebody else. It, might reduce a lot of the responsibility she feels for, his happiness. So,
of course, this might speak well for people, if you need to be married and have children at some point in your life, it might speak well to later in your life living alone. So, number one, you don't become the victim of this. And number two, so you're not a burden to somebody else.
Exactly. And if he's in a hospice, then, the prospect of, enjoying a trip together and all that kind of stuff is out the window anyways, so.
Oh, I understand. But I'm sure when Sandra Day O'Connor was 50 or 55, she probably, like many people that age, dreamed of her retirement with her husband and going around the world or whatever they were going to do.
Yeah, but,
And now look what she got.
Like you said, you can't count on anything, right?
But that's my point.
Yeah.
The worst reason to get married is so you'll have someone to take care of you when you get older.
Definitely.
That's the worst reason, because there's no guarantee of that.
Yep. No guarantees in life except death and taxes. And, so I enjoy your show. I don't think it applies to everybody, but you're great entertainment for me when I'm driving home.
Thank you, Jasmine.
Can you blow me up?
Of course I can. 1-800-5800-TOM is our telephone number. Drew on the Tom Leykis show. Hello.
Hello. Hi there.
Hi there.
How's it going?
Great.
I just want to talk about what you were talking about how getting married and, for old age and not being alone. I don't see getting married and falling in love as something you look down the line at as receiving. It's something you want to give. So when you fall in love and you get married, it's about giving. Now, if something happens down the line, if that person gets sick, if that person cheats on you or whatnot, that's all part of life, and it happens to you.
But the thing is, if you never let yourself get sucked into that kind of relationship, there's no such thing as being a victim of cheating. There's no such thing as being a victim of cheating, because everybody's doing exactly what they want, and it's understood.
Right, but that's kind of like saying, I'm not going to buy a house because one day there might be an earthquake and it might just fall on me and I'll die. Or that's like saying, I'm not going to buy a house because one window might not have a good...
No, it's not like that, because here's the thing. Marriage is the costliest thing you'll do.
Marriage is
it's the costliest thing you'll do, and I say it's not worth the risk. It's just not, for guys, it's certainly not worth the risk.
It's costly. It's not. I don't think it's costly. It's something you're giving. If you're looking at it as something that's being taken away from you.
It's giving money to women who spend the money. The fact is, it's not necessary.
That's
and it's
like
costly.
If you, Tom, and I, Drew, are friends for 10 years, and I give you a gift for your birthday every year, and 10 years down the line, we have an argument and we stop talking, I cannot go back and say, oh, I gave you 10 years worth of birthday presents, and that has...
But my point is, why bother agreeing to give up half of everything you earn for something that is such a risk?
It's not a risk. You're falling in love.
Of course it's a risk. But the point is, why do we have to give money? And that's what it boils down to, money.
We
have to give money.
If everything is about money, then you shouldn't do anything. You shouldn't buy a car. You shouldn't buy a house.
No, but the point is, some things are worth spending money on, and other things definitely are more risky.
Oh, so risking your money for something that, on a business or something like that is more worth it than risking your money on
this
love?
way, I think you have a better chance of succeeding with a business than you do with the investment you make in a marriage.
Well, that's, the chances on that, I don't know. That's arguable. None of the studies are out there. You can't you can't compare something that's about love and life.
But I am referring to all the people who call here and they refer to the fact that I live alone, and I brag about it.
Okay.
And they try to tell me, oh, you're going to be miserable because you'll have no one to take care of you. Well, guess what? Many people who are married won't have anyone to take care of them.
Exactly.
Many people who are living with somebody will have nobody to take care of them. People who are in love, like the O'Connors.
Exactly, and it's not, it's because life and love is not as black and white as everything else.
Well, here's what's black and white. Here's what's black and white. Here's what's black and white. Men have to give up half of everything they earn to women on a big, risky venture. That's guaranteed. It's in stone.
I don't know.
It's guaranteed.
I haven't been listening to you too long. I've only heard you a couple of times just on my way home from work, and I kind of came to the conclusion that your whole show is based on a very simple, very, very simple concept. And the whole concept is that there are people that can give and can put their ego aside and are humble and would like to give and are a part of.
Well, I'm tired of giving, and I like to be taking.
Right,
and
that's fine. And
I'd rather than impose myself on a person and be taking from them all the time.
Exactly.
I live alone, and therefore everything I earn is mine. And if I give someone something, it's a gift. It is not an entitlement. And what I have a problem with.
What's her name? I don't know. Whoever was on Supreme Court, and she quit her.
Sandra Day O'Connor.
Right. She can't say, oh, I retired and it's your fault. No, that's something she chose to do. It's like...
But that's my point. I'm not blaming her. I'm saying, see, this happened to her. This is why the rest of us should not get married, because this can happen to you.
Yeah, but you can't say you should or you shouldn't get married because
yes, I can. I just did.
It depends on how you look at life. It depends on you as a person. If you're a giver or you're a taker. You're a taker, you never get married.
But I'm not. The point is, I'm not taking from anybody but myself, which doesn't make you a taker at all.
I'm
not a taker. I'm a keeper. I'm keeping what's mine.
taker, same thing.
No, they're not the same thing. A taker,
yeah,
a taker takes from somebody else. I don't take from anyone. I just keep what I have.
Trying to make logic out of the whole, out of your mentality and how you look at.
Here we go. And now, there we go. And leave it to a woman to downgrade logic. Oh, well, you're just being, you're being logical. You can't look at this logically. You shouldn't be logical.
I agree with most of the things you say, too. Of course, you got to be logical. You got to think with your mind. You have to be logical in life, and you look at a situation and you figure
And
things
I'm
out.
being logical, and logically speaking, it doesn't make sense for men to get married because the cost is too great. The risk is too great. And this is a great example of what I'm talking about.
Okay, then don't buy a house in Malibu because, you know, one day there might be a
By the
fire
way,
in the house.
I haven't. And that's, by the way, I haven't bought a house in Malibu, and that's exactly why I haven't bought a house in Malibu.
Careful when you cross the street because you might get hit by a bus, too. So you might not want to cross the
you're
street.
calculating the risk. If 1 out of 2 marriages ends in divorce, that's a much bigger risk than the risk of crossing the street and getting hit by a bus.
Well, why do 1 and 2 marriages end in divorce?
I don't care what the reason is. I only know it's true.
Well, no, I don't know.
I mean, you don't know. I love how women women like you, totally dissing statistics. These are statistics. You can't argue with them. You can't argue with statistics.
Oh, my gosh. And men like you think, oh, you know, I'm not going to get married because it's going to cost too much. Well, it's not about, you know.
Yes, it is. It's easy for you to say as the recipient of the funds. It's easy for you to say that.
What's easy to say that?
It's easy to say that, oh, well, what's the big deal about money? Because you're not the one paying it.
I'm not going to rely on a man to pay for anything. It's not.
Yeah,
you
right.
know,
Well, then you don't need to get married.
Unless I'm in love and I'm getting married to have kids and start a family, and those kids need a mother, and I'm going to stay home to raise them. In that case, it's completely different. If we're going to get married and be 2 individuals, kind of like roommates, being companions, living together, that are married only as a symbol, you know, to not cheat, as a kind of bond between the two, then it's different. I think there's 2 paths a couple take. Yeah, of course there is.
Again, the risk is too great, the cost is too much, and this particular story about former Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor proves my point.
Tom Leykis. 1-800-5800-TOM.
I'm jumping up and down. What the hell are you doing? Stop having kids. Stop it. Stop.
The Tom Leykis Show.
The Tom Leykis Show at 1-800-5800-TOM, coming to you from Hollywood, California. Thank you so much for being part of our program. We appreciate it. Former Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor retired last year to take care of her husband, 77-year-old John O'Connor, because he was beginning to have symptoms of Alzheimer's. Turns out he's now forgotten her and fallen in love with someone else at the hospice. And they say this is a common scenario for Alzheimer's patients. Wow. Again, just another good reason not to get married. Right, folks? You bet. I mean, how many reasons do you need? I'm giving them to you all the time. I keep dishing them up. And you guys still think you know more than I do? You still try to call in and tell me I'm wrong about this stuff all the time. And I keep providing more and more empirical evidence that maybe you're wrong. And maybe you are. Just think about that. Imagine you spend your whole life planning on your retirement with somebody, and then finally when you retire, when you finally get around to it, they don't know you, they don't remember you. Wow. Here's Lisa on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hello?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Hi, this is Lisa.
Yes.
I was just calling in regards to the last discussion that you had with the female caller.
Yes.
And it just blows my mind that these women call with stupidity coming out of their mouths. I am a once bitten, twice shy on marriage, and I totally agree that with getting married, especially for men and women, it is just too costly on both parties. I can't understand why women and men can't see that they should just put up with consistency and don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Right. I've never been happier than I am now.
I drive from work every day listening to you. So, mind you, I'm a long-time listener, first-time caller.
Cool.
And you make me roll from work to home every night. And it's just, I love the way that you just make these women stutter and have no idea what to say next.
That's right.
So,
because most women, as you know, logic is a challenge for most women.
Well, for some, yes. But you see, the fact is that when you've got women that have never been married or are in a happy marriage currently, they can't see beyond that. And when things go south, then their opinions change. So
well, on top of that, there are many women who are planning on getting married who haven't done it. And, of course, they're heading for that like, Well,
but when also...
like a freight train.
Exactly. But also, because nobody wants to go into a marriage thinking that things are going to go bad. But when they do, it's, but they think, well, if I only knew now what I knew back then. It's just bizarre. So, and I'm just like, I love your show. I think you're great. And, I know, props to you.
Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
Appreciate the call. It's 1-800-5800-TOM. Let's say hello here to Elizabeth on the Tom Leykis show. Hello. Elizabeth.
How are you?
Good.
I love your show.
Thank you.
It makes my drive much more pleasant, except when you get women on there that just don't know what they're talking about. I think this show should be geared more towards women than men.
Well, we do tell women the reason to tune in is to hear how men think.
Let me just give you a little background on myself. I've been married for 10 years, happily. I'm your typical soccer mom. And my husband is involved in sports quite a bit, so we've gone a lot. And the reason why my marriage is so happy is because I also have a boyfriend. And, we did the whole let's merge the assets, except I didn't do the whole let's have a big wedding thing because I just didn't see the point of spending all that money just in case. I'd rather have that money in my pocket. I'm a higher earner in the family, but he had a home, together, and I said, all I want when I leave is what I brought in, because I think that's what's fair. I was raised in a household of men, and I saw how hard they worked and the women that came through their lives and took everything, so I'm kind of one of those exceptional women, I guess.
And if he had a girlfriend, that would be okay with you?
Oh, perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. I think it would be naive of me to think that all the nights he's gone off with some sports team, he's not out doing something. My only concern ever is the sex protected sex, or is it, stupid, I'm not wearing a condom kind of thing?
And do you talk about this with him?
We are more on a don't ask, don't tell kind of policy, but we've actually had a few conversations about who we've met and, things that are, we just don't do the graphic, I'm going to embarrass you in front of your family, your friends kind of thing. I think that's just rude. I hear a lot about how unhappy women are, and all they do is, gripe about how fat they are and that they don't do anything except take care of the kids. And I think, these kids are going to grow up and go. They're going to leave someday. Do something for yourself now. And although I sympathize with this woman's, plight now, there is no absolute. We just don't have any guarantees. There is a risk. And this is for that caller that was on a couple, minutes back. There's a risk in everything. we're not talking about falling in love. They confuse love with romance. Romance is only nice when it's a new guy.
Well, people also confuse love and sex, and they confuse money and love. Like, in order to show you love somebody, you have to be willing to give them everything you have.
But you're talking about the women that go to bars and then a man buys you a drink or two and they're expecting, you know, the world. It's a drink, not a diamond, not a house, not a pension plan. It's a drink. The expectations are so high out there. I wish I could just teach a class, you know, and show these women how to get what they want and not live so, you know, like frigid, naive, waiting for their husbands to leave them when they could be having it all at the same time.
Right.
I mean, you know, this is a woman's world now. We can work, we can make money, we can have affairs, we can do this. I mean, the age of technology has made it possible for so much.
Plus, women can have sex with their husband's best friend.
Exactly.
And when he finds out about it, they can then take everything he's got.
And not only that, but I mean, communication, talk about it. Say, this is what I want. I told my husband from day one, I will never be faithful, ever. It's not going to happen.
Really?
Yes. And
so if I may ask, why did you need to be married?
I think it was more because I had children from a previous marriage, which I don't take child support for. I just want to get that out there because I felt sorry for the guy. I mean, the guy has to make a living, too. And I just didn't want my kids to see me. Now, this is going to go against what I'm saying, but I didn't want them to see me living with some guy, you know. I just didn't want that, and it lasted, and it works. As long as we keep things out in the open, it just works.
Do the kids know you have a boyfriend?
No, they don't know that part. That's mommy's business.
Do they know you have a friend who's a guy?
No, nothing like that. I have a lot of male friends either way because, as I said, I grew up with a lot of brothers and not too many sisters around or, you know, aunts or anything like that. So I just relate more to men, I suppose. But I've taught my daughter to be a little bit more open about her life and, you know, the people she runs into and the circle she's in, and not to be stupid and naive and what to look for. And, you know, I've taught her mostly those things. This is just, you know, this is just about me being kind of a jerk in that sense that I just never get enough, I guess.
And what happens down the line if, you get pregnant by your boyfriend?
Oh, I've already had that taken care of years ago. I'm done.
You tied the old tubes, did you?
Yes, I did, because I'm not stupid.
Look at that.
I'm not going to get myself lassoed with another kid.
Oh, yikes. Well, all right. Wouldn't be my way of doing it, but I hear what you're saying. Mike, on the Tom Leykis show, hello.
Hey, what's going on, Tom?
Not much.
So I've been married for 5 years, and I'm happily married, but I was wondering, because I've been listening to your show for a few months now, if I've made the wrong choice and if there's anything to, like, foolproof myself so that way if something bad does end up happening, if I can prevent myself from getting screwed.
No, you can't. You're already married.
Right.
You could try to get a post-nuptial agreement, but we don't know much about those. We don't know how well they're going to stand up in the long run. You could certainly talk to your attorney about it. But why do you need to be married?
Well, I got married when I was in the military, and it's got pretty good benefits to get married while you're in the military.
Yeah, but you understand when you get divorced, she can take your benefits.
Correct.
Is that worth the risk?
No, but, you know, I wasn't thinking about that at the time.
Right, and that's the problem. You see, a lot of guys in the military, 19, 20 years old,
right.
Not that experienced, and don't think about that kind of thing until later when they're getting screwed.
Right. Well, I really don't see a problem, but, you know, I know that a lot of guys say that who are in my position. They're like, oh, you know, I'm the exception to the rule, whatever. I'm not trying to say that, but so you're pretty much saying that there's nothing I can do unless I can try to get, like, a post-nuptial agreement. It's the only thing I can.
What else could you possibly do?
I don't know.
You could ask your wife, honey, if we get divorced, let's just promise each other we won't take anything. How much good do you think that's going to do?
Yeah. Well, at this point right now, I can trust her with that, because I don't.
Right. Well, that's what they all say.
Yeah,
that's what they all say.
Exactly.
You never know what you can trust her with until the papers land at her front door.
The Tom Leykis Show.